It's 11:47 p.m. on December 31st. You're holding your phone, half watching the countdown on TV, scrolling through posts about fresh starts and clean slates. Someone texts the group chat. What are your resolutions this year? You type something about the gym, maybe reading more, maybe finally starting that project you've mentioned for 3 years. It sounds right. It sounds like something a person with their life together would say. By February, you won't remember typing it. This isn't a failure of willpower. It's not that you're lazy or uncommitted. It's something stranger. The resolutions you make on nights like this rarely come from the part of you that actually runs your life. They come from the part that knows what sounds good, the part that wants to be seen a certain way, the part that performs. And that part doesn't control your behavior, it just narrates it. There's a version of you that shows up in public, that knows what to say, that makes reasonable goals at reasonable times. And then there's everything underneath. The patterns, the defaults, the things you do when nobody's keeping score. Your 20s aren't shaped by the promises you make on New Year's Eve. They're shaped by a handful of decisions you've probably already made without noticing. Decisions that don't feel like decisions at all. They feel like just how things are. Tonight, everyone's talking about becoming a new person. But the more interesting question is quieter. Who have you already been becoming, slowly, while you weren't paying attention? Here's something nobody tells you about your 20s. Your brain is still being built. Not metaphorically, neurologically. The pathways that fire together wire together. And by your late 20s, most of that wiring is set. What feels normal to you now will feel normal to you at 40. The thoughts you repeat become the thoughts you default to. The inputs you allow become the lens you see through. Which means the people around you aren't just friends, they're architects. If your circle treats spending money as celebration, you'll spend money to celebrate. If your friends are cynical about ambition, you'll learn to be embarrassed by yours. If the people closest to you avoid hard conversations, you'll start to believe that avoiding is the same as peace. This isn't influence in the obvious way. Nobody sits you down and says, "Here's how to think." It's subtler. It's what gets laughed at, what gets praised, what gets ignored. You absorb a definition of normal before you realize you're absorbing anything at all. The same thing happens with information. Whatever you scroll through at night, whatever voices fill your commute, whatever you let into your head when you're too tired to filter, that becomes the texture of your inner world. Cynicism in, cynicism out. Anxiety in, anxiety out. Noise in, noise out. Most people think they're choosing their influences. They're not. They're just marinating in whatever's convenient. And convenience has a cost. There's a second invisible force shaping your 20s, and it's even harder to see. It's your relationship with friction. Every day, you face small moments of discomfort. The awkward conversation you could have, the workout you could push through, the feedback you could ask for, the project you could start even though you might fail. And every day you make a choice, mostly unconsciously. Lean in or step back. Tolerate the friction or find a way around it. Over years, these micro choices build a kind of internal thermostat, a tolerance level. Some people reach their late 20s able to handle difficult things, not because they're tougher by nature, but because they spent years raising their threshold. Other people reach the same age having flooring every corner of their life for smoothness. They've gotten so good at avoiding discomfort that they've lost the ability to move toward anything that requires it. This is where failure matters. Not because failure teaches lessons, everyone says that, but because failure is a form of friction. And if you spend your 20s arranging your life so you never fail, you also spend your 20s shrinking the territory you're willing to enter. The people who seek discomfort become capable of handling challenge. The people who avoid it become fragile without realizing it. Both outcomes feel like just how I am by the time you're 30, but they weren't inevitable. They were built. There's a strange paradox in your 20s. You have more free time than you'll ever have again, and most of it disappears into nothing. You come home from work, you have 3, maybe 4 hours before sleep, and something happens that you don't quite notice. You do the easy thing. You scroll. You watch something you've already seen. You lie on the couch with your phone 6 inches from your face, not resting, but not doing anything either. The evening evaporates. You go to bed vaguely dissatisfied, wake up, and do it again. This isn't laziness. Lazy people feel guilty. This feels more like fog, like time passes without you choosing how. Here's what's actually happening. Identity is informed in public. It's not built in the moments when you're trying to impress someone or live up to a standard. It's built in the hours when nobody's watching. The free time, the margins, the space between obligations. What you do there is who you're becoming. If you spend those hours consuming, you become someone who consumes. If you spend them building, even badly, even slowly, you become someone who builds. If you spend them avoiding, you become someone whose life is shaped by what you didn't do. Your 20s will sort you into one of these categories, not by dramatic turning points, but by 1,000 small evenings. And by the time you notice the pattern, it's already part of you. The same principle applies to direction, career, path, whatever you want to call it. Most people in their early 20s think they need to find the right answer, the perfect job, the true calling. So they wait. They keep their options open. They drift, telling themselves they're being flexible. But drifting isn't neutral. Drifting is a choice. And it's often the most expensive one. The thing nobody explains is that clarity doesn't come before action. It comes after. You don't figure out what you want and then pursue it. You pursue something, anything, and the pursuit teaches you what you actually want. Choosing a direction, even the wrong one, gives you traction. It gives you information. It gives you something to push against. The people who pick something, even imperfectly, tend to accidentally discover their thing. The people who refuse to pick anything end up at 30 wondering why they feel so far behind. In your 20s, inaction is more dangerous than the wrong action, because the wrong action teaches you. Inaction just lets time pass. There's one more pattern that separates people in their 20s. It doesn't show up on resumes. It's barely visible from the outside, but it determines almost everything. It's how you handle being wrong. At some point, your 20s will expose you. You'll realize you're not as far along as you thought. You'll get feedback that stings. You'll watch someone younger do something better. You'll fail at something you expected to succeed at. And in that moment, you'll make a decision. Some people get defensive. They explain. They deflect. They find reasons why the feedback was unfair or the failure didn't count. They protect the image of themselves at all costs. Other people do something harder. They let the information in. They adjust. They treat being wrong as data, not as attack. This is coachability, and it's almost impossible to fake. The coachable ones accelerate, not because they're smarter, but because they're not wasting energy defending a version of themselves that isn't working. They update, they iterate, they get better. The uncoachable ones stay stuck. They might be talented, they might even be right sometimes, but their need to protect their ego keeps them from absorbing anything that could change them. Your 20s will reveal which one you are, and by the time you're 30, that pattern will be deep enough that most people don't even try to change it. So here's the real question for New Year's. Not what do you want to achieve, not what sounds good, not what would impress someone if you said it out loud, but what are the patterns you've already built? What normal have you already absorbed? What discomfort have you been avoiding? What have you been doing with the hours nobody sees? What direction have you been drifting instead of choosing? And when life tries to tell you something you don't want to hear, what do you do with it? A better year doesn't start with a resolution. It starts with seeing clearly what's already in motion. The person you'll be at 30 is being built right now. not by your intentions, by your defaults, by the 1,000 invisible decisions you make when you're not thinking about decisions at all. You don't have to fix everything tonight. You don't have to become someone new by morning. But you might want to look at who you're already becoming. Because that's the person who'll wake up on January 1st, and every day after that. What's the decision you already know you're avoiding?